and welcome. My name is Rashim Mogha and I am your host for this Empowered Women of the World podcast. This podcast is for you. It is for me and it is for all women who want to take charge of their career and happiness. In this weekly podcast, we'll talk about technology. We'll talk about leadership and we will talk about mindfulness. We'll talk about how you can discover, visualize and actualize your success, whatever that means to you. We will also talk about our common opponent, the conscious and unconscious bias which we deal with on a daily basis. And we'll share ways to navigate work politics. At the end of each podcast, as usual, I'll share with you a tip or a resource that you can use to be successful. It's going to be a fun ride, so hop on and join me on this journey every week. Before we start today's podcast, I am delighted to share that we won the Women Empowerment Game Changer Award 2019 last week. Yes, eWOW won the Women Empowerment Game Changer Award last week. eWOW is becoming a movement. We have listeners now in over 20 countries. Besides United States, United Kingdom and India, we now have listeners in countries like Sweden, Australia, Ireland, Brazil, Canada, Switzerland, Belgium, France, Luxembourg, New Zealand, Singapore, Denmark, and many more. Now, many of you have emailed me and asked me how you can help in this movement of empowering women globally. So I'll share those details in the show notes below. I'll share the email ID and you can just send me an email and we can talk about how you can support the movement. But I am getting so excited. This is taking women empowerment to another level with the help of technology. So let's talk about today's podcast. Today's podcast is about how to ace an interview. Many of you actually sent me an email last week saying, well, in the previous episode, you talked about how to get back to work and then you switched gears and you talked about how to negotiate salary. I think you skipped a step in between, which was how to ace the interview. And that made me realize that I had to do a podcast and share some tips. So here are the tips. Tip number 1, research the company that you are interviewing for. Know what their values are, where the company is investing, and also use tools like LinkedIn to understand what roles they have hired for in last couple of years. Now, the chances are that in your interview with either with a recruiter, that is the screening interview, or an interview with a hiring manager, or when you're called for an in-house interview, you will be asked, somebody will ask you, why this company? Why are you interested in our company? You should be able to answer this question and tie it back to your own value system, how your values align with company's values or how the company's product or services are of interest to you. This explanation should be more than just saying that, the skills that I have align with the skills that you require for this job. Remember, it's the company that's hiring you. Second is to prepare your stories. Now, art of storytelling comes in very handy at interviews. Many companies today, including companies like Amazon and Oracle, use the STAR methodology for interviewing. Now, these questions typically start with, can you talk about a time when, and blah, blah, blah. So prepare some success stories to share. Having prepared these success stories, you will help you process your success stories better, will help you understand what your success looks like. It will also help you keep your answers crisp and impactful without going into an endless loop. The third tip that I have for you is claim your fame. Yes, an interview is not the time to shy away from sharing your success. The interviewers want to know what you did versus what your team did. So claim your fame. If you are a part of a team, we're working on a successful project. If you were a part of the team while working on a successful project, you want to make sure that you mention what exactly your role was in the project and how you helped the team be successful. It's not about we, it's about I in the interview. the company is not hiring the entire team. The company is hiring you. So don't hesitate to use I instead of we wherever appropriate. Now, I'm not saying that don't give the credit to your team, but make sure to claim your credit as well. The fourth tip that I have for you is, after you are done with the interview, make sure to send a thank you note. People ask me, does it really matter? Yes, it matters. I've been a hiring manager for over 17 years now, and every time I receive a thank you note from a candidate, it's a reminder for me in terms of, what skills does the candidate have, and also helps me understand what did the candidate learn about the company and this role in the interview process, and that helps me make a decision. Thank you note is actually a great opportunity to reiterate your interest in the position and let the interviewer know that you have the skills required to do the job. I would recommend to keep it specific and bring in points from your interview. An example is, for example, if I shared that I am looking for somebody who can quickly ramp up and who can basically put the processes in place in the first 30 days of joining an organization to a candidate, and in a thank you note the candidate then replies back saying, I understand that it's really important for you that the person who joins this role is able to onboard quickly, ramp up quickly, and then put processes in place. And I think with my skill set and giving my project management capabilities, I would be able to do that. Is a great way for me to understand that the candidate really understood what I wanted from a person and is reiterating his or her skills. So I hope you find these tips useful. Shweta Mogha, Senior HR and Talent Management Leader at Amazon, will be sharing more on acing an interview in our eWOW Summit. So there you go. Today's free resource for you is a link to our first eWOW Virtual Summit, April 1st through 3rd. It's virtual, it's global, and my dear friends, it's free. We have a limited number of seats, so make sure you register now. The link is in the show notes below. And if you want to be an eWOW ambassador, please email me. I'll share the email ID in the show notes as well. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you for loving, liking, supporting, and sharing the podcast. Remember, sharing is caring. I love your feedback, emails, and messages, so please keep them coming. And now we have an audience spanning over 20 countries, which is awesome. Go eWOW! I look forward to seeing you again in our next podcast. Till then, keep empowering the world, my dear friends.